Hey, today we're going to talk about the importance of a will. That's not something that many people think about planning ahead of time for, but it happens all the time where they're necessary in life. My family recently is going through something that we never thought we'd have to deal with. My father-in-law was killed by a guy that was attempting to rob a store, and he was stopping him. He's a former Marine, and he was doing what he thought was right. With this, my family, including my sister-in-law, my fiance, and my brother-in-law, we've had to step up and take care of his estate now. We've gotten a lot of life lessons from all of this because it's not something that we thought we'd ever have to deal with. Tom, my father-in-law, didn't leave anything planned ahead of time for us. So this really made me think about things at hand and how to prepare for my future, for my children and my family. Some of the lessons we've learned came right away with the final expenses. Tom, thankfully, just took out a life insurance policy, which designated beneficiaries and helped with the final expenses. That can be a big thing if you don't have a will or a life insurance policy or any designations of that sort. So you can be stuck with costs upwards of $15,000 because it is expensive. The other thing that we ran into with this was the military burial. He had his DD 214 filed with the court system, thankfully. So we were able to get a copy of that and do the military rites and the burial that he deserved. That was important, again, because if you don't have a copy of that, you can't do your family member justice in their final endeavor to the cemetery or wherever to bury them with those. The other thing that you can do in your will is specify your final plans. We didn't have one, like I said, so we just had to go in and guess what we thought he would have wanted. I, however, do have my final plans done in my will. I want to donate my body to science. There are so many different options you can do in your last leg of life. You can be cremated, you could be buried, you can be donated to science, and depending on the state you're in, you can do a natural cremation, which is a whole different ballgame. And there's a new thing coming out where they can put you in a pod and you can become a tree. So there are very many options, and your family might not know necessarily what you would want to do, so they have to choose what they think is best, or in some cases, what's cheapest because of financial reasons. Again, with that life insurance policy, that's a big help, so that they do an immediate disbursement dependent upon what your policy was, and we were lucky because there was designated beneficiaries on there. If we did not have a designated beneficiary, it would have to go through probate before we could take care of that. Probate is a lengthy process through the court system. However, if you do have a life insurance policy and you do have a will, your beneficiaries on your life insurance will trump whoever is executor of the will. This leads me into the executor. If you don't have a will, you have to name an executor of your estate. The executor has to be, in Ohio anyways, they have to be a resident of the state. If they aren't, then you have to designate somebody that is. In our case, my sister-in-law, Tom's only blood relative, lives in Colorado. So Raven had to come home and help us take care of this and sign over her rights as executor to her brother Mike, who is my fiance. So now Mike and I are left with the responsibility of handling everything through probate, through the courts, through bills, and all of that. Speaking of bills, all of that can be filed. In Ohio, the law says that anyone with debts after they die have 6 months to file against the estate. So we've opened our estate case with executors and the probate court system. So now we have 6 months to get all the money and all the financial assets and establish values. So if there's bills, they can be paid out of that. If you have a will, again, this protects the family because there will be money set aside for stuff just like that. People that can come after you financially would be the IRS, bankruptcies, and other legal situations like that. Another special situation in our case is Tom's mother passed away in March. So we still have an estate open for her. So again, if you have a will that takes over all of that and designates both beneficiaries. So now we have his estate and Gladys's. And with that, again, if you had the will, it would kind of help sway in a direction who could take care of that. So now we have both creditors and those situations at hand. However, not everybody has a family nice as easy to get along with and that can control the situation and take care of what needs to be done. If you don't have a will and there are discrepancies in your family, everybody would just get what they deserve, or I guess not deserve, but would be divided up between. In a will, you can disinherit somebody. Let's say you have a sibling that no longer speaks to the family. In your will, you can specifically designate that that person does not get anything. It's an unfortunate situation, but sometimes it happens. If you happen to be younger and have younger children, you can also, in your will, designate who takes care of them. Personally, for me, I have a young family, so it's important to me that I be able to choose who my children go to. I would want to make sure they're taken care of. Just like this situation that my family is in, it's extremely important to plan ahead, no matter how old you are. Tom was only 53. I'm 28 years old, and I never thought I'd be making some of these calls and decisions for a parent. So that's why it's extremely important to plan ahead, regardless of your age, because tomorrow is never promised.